Welcome to the jungle, everyone. I'm Kyle Phelps, and I am just itching for some real football at this point. This video is a companion video to my offensive roster predictions video, by the way. If you haven't watched that one, you might want to go ahead and watch that first, because I'll probably reference it a few times and some decisions that I made in that video. Yeah, you can always watch it afterwards, but it might help a little bit if you watch it first. So, either way, as a recap, here's the roster that we've got so far. That's 25 players plus 3 mandatory special teams players, which we'll talk about at the end of this video. That leaves 25 spots for defensive guys. Now, before we dive in, I'd just like to ask that you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. The more this channel grows, the more time that I can actually dedicate to this channel, so maybe I don't have to disappear for 80% of the off-season to do other things, right? So before we get started, it should be acknowledged that since I made the last video and wrote most of the script for this video, the Bengals actually have released 11 players already. On the defensive side, I will say it was already guys who I was predicting would get cut. It wasn't any big surprises or anything. You had defensive end Andre Carter, linebacker Aaron Casey, safety Michael Dowell, cornerback Allen Jones, and defensive tackle Josh Pryor. No big surprises there, like I said. I did think that maybe not Aaron Casey, but maybe we might have, some room for another defensive end with Myles Murphy's injury. But, it looks like I was right about Jackson Carman, after predicting it for the second year in a row. But, I'll take the dub either way. So the first position we're going to talk about is actually really interesting, I think. With Cam Sample, he's out for the year with an injury. Jeff Gunter retired. Myles Murphy's hurt now, oh my God. Are we going to have any healthy defensive ends by the start of the season? I don't know. But obviously your starters are going to be Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard, and that's a fantastic thing. I do think, once healthy, you're going to see a lot more of Myles Murphy this year, and, regardless, you're going to see a lot more of Joseph Ossai, which is good because, we need him to get back to contributing a whole lot. Now, with all the injuries, that also gives you a really good path for 6th-round pick and a guy who's looked pretty good so far, Cedric Johnson, to make the roster. So I definitely think he's going to make the roster now. And like I said, with Myles Murphy out 4 to 6 weeks, there's maybe even opportunity for another guy. But for now, I'm just going to predict Cedric Johnson. He had a great day against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 1 of the preseason, and also some flashes against both the Bears and the Colts. So I don't see Blazek or Pryor unseating him for that last spot at this point. So on the interior of the defensive line, you're obviously going to have guys like Sheldon Rankins and B.J. Hill. Those are going to be your starters, right? And then you're going to get a lot of rotational work from Chris Jenkins because that's their 2nd-round nose tackle. They're going to want to get him in the fold and contributing as much as possible. Zach Carter, I think he also makes the team, even though he did have a really rough day against the Buccaneers in that first preseason week. He looked better against the Bills, and I don't think the Bengals are going to give up on their 3rd-round pick, quite frankly. And for that reason, I think obviously McKinley Jackson is going to make that last defensive tackle spot. I don't know what's going on with his injury situation, so it's even possible that he starts the season on IR, which could open up an opportunity for the Bengals to hold on to a veteran guy like Jay Tufele a little bit longer. But, ultimately that's going to be McKinley Jackson's spot when he's healthy. So linebacker's a pretty cut and dry position, I think. I thought about giving Shaka Hayward like the 53rd spot, but he just missed the cut when I, made up my Excel sheet. So the 3 obvious picks here is going to have Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, and Akeem Davis-Gaither. And then I think Joe Bachie is going to be the 4th guy here, like the backup, like the true backup. And then at safety, you're going to get Geno Stone and Von Bell starting. I think Jordan Battle is going to get rotated in quite a bit because I think if the Bengals would be insane not to try to continue his development, they got to get him on the field, right? But at the same time, it's a crowded position right now. Tyson Anderson, I think, will get that other backup safety spot, but I could potentially see Dejon Anthony sliding in there as a 3rd backup, depending on how things shake out. More on that one in a second. Now, cornerback, I will say, is a fascinating topic right now. Cam Taylor-Britt is your starter. There's no arguing that. I think we can all agree that he's a stud. Mike Hilton, also a stud. He's your starting slot corner. But it actually lately sounds like Dax Hill has got the inside track to be the other starting corner over DJ Turner. And if true, that's huge because Dax Hill was on track to be a bust as a safety. But he's performed so well as an outside corner in the preseason and like training camp, that the latest buzz is that he's going to take that starting job, which is fantastic news. It's unfortunate for DJ Turner because he's been developing pretty well, I think, but at the same time, having 3 great outside cornerback options, especially in this NFL where it's so pass heavy, that could be a really good thing. And then the 4th spot, I think, is going to go to Josh Newton, who mostly has looked really good. I mean, there's been a bad play here and there, and I think you expect that out of rookies, especially 5th-round pick rookies. But also don't forget that Josh Newton had a lot of hype going into the draft that like kind of tailed off over the course of the past year. But like, you know, if the draft had happened a year earlier, they were talking about him potentially being a 1st-round draft pick, right? And I think that talent showed up. So I think you're definitely going to see Josh Newton getting that 4th spot. And then, you know, Jalen Davis, I think, is going to get, you know, the final spot there behind Mike Hilton. But that last outside cornerback spot is tough, though. What's going on with DJ Ivey? Like, you know, I mean, he's injured, but I think he's the obvious pick for that corner spot because he's shown, you know, a lot of promise, if healthy. The problem is he's been on PUP for the last month, and we've had virtually no updates since about his injury situation. So if he starts the season on IR, then you could maybe see Dejon Anthony coming back and, you know, getting himself a spot on the team. I originally said Allen George, but he's been cut since, so, you know, the only one I can think of that might make sense for is Dejon Anthony. So, as far as I was talking about earlier, I said, you know, I'll talk about him in a second. There you go. So, he might actually still end up making the roster temporarily just because, you know, you're going to have some injury situations that need to be remedied. So, finally, let's talk about everybody's favorite topic, and genuinely actually one of my favorite topics, specialists, because kickers are people too. Now, first of all, it's much less interesting talking about the kicker and the long snapper for that matter, because Evan McPherson and Cal Adamitis, those guys are entrenched. They didn't even have any competition. They're both really good at what they do, so, I mean, like, we know who's going to make those positions. There has been a battle at punter, though. That said, I don't think Ryan Reckow did enough to unseat incumbent and former draft pick Brad Robbins at the punter spot. Brad Robbins also showed some signs of improvement, so, you know, that's good. I don't think he's necessarily a lock to be with the team for the next 10 years like Kevin Huber was, but I do think that ultimately, at least for now, the Bengals are going to continue going with him. Reckow took every snap against the Colts, though, in the final preseason game because Brad Robbins picked up an injury in warm-ups. So, if that injury continues to keep him on the sideline, there's still a path for Reckow to remain with the team until Robbins is healthy. Ultimately, though, I think Robbins is going to be the guy. I think he's won the job. I think it's pretty clear at this point. So with cuts coming on August 27th, these guys are out of opportunities to make their case at this point. So now it's just up to the coaches to make their decisions and make me look either smart or probably dumb. I'll either do a video or a live stream reacting to the cuts and comparing my predictions to the ones that we, you know, actually get on the final roster. But for now, this is basically what I'm thinking. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll feature the best ones, as always, in my next video, like this one from William Tombrink, Z05YI. Not to butcher the name or anything like that. Greetings from 10 miles away from Arrowhead, not Burrowhead. Not here to troll you. I just stumbled upon this video. Good luck beating Mahomes and company this year, but seriously, good luck with your channel. I appreciate that. Thumbs up from the home, the 2-time defending champions. And I'll be honest, I really respect comments like that. Like, I feel like we can be rivals and, you know, not like each other's teams and still have respect for the game and each other. So it's like, stuff like that's the real stuff that, like, you know, football's really about. And I wish more people would just be, like, reasonable like that. Unless you're a Steelers fan. But anyway, like, I feel like everybody else can just kind of respect each other, right? I'll begrudgingly admit, I bite my tongue as I say it, but I'll begrudgingly admit that I respect what the Chiefs have been doing with Patrick Mahomes in that whole era. So, honestly, good luck to y'all, and may you lose to us with honor this year. Lots of honor, but still losing. So that's all I got for now, y'all. See you when the season starts, right? I'll leave y'all, as always, with a hoo-day!